What people say about the state of America is very different privately than what they'll admit to publicly. I haven't been in the country that I was born and raised in, the United States of America, in over 2 years. A lot has changed over that course of time. I'm sure that many of you guys would think that the changes aren't necessarily for the better. I have gone from being raised by hard lefty parents. My proclivity was always more towards the center, but I was definitely center left. Then I moved to the center. Now today, I'm definitely center right. And if being labeled center right means that I strongly stand for freedom of speech of each and every American, if it means that I'm against segregated dormitories and graduations as they recently had at Columbia University that the woke are so in favor of, along with, of course, the KKK, then I am proud to be assigned that label. But I'm not the only person who's witnessed the demise of America and of specifically Los Angeles and California and is reacting to it. Over the last couple of weeks, I've been in contact with 20 people that I know, some more closely than others, who have either moved away or are thinking about moving away. No one wants to stay there. The environment that is being created in Los Angeles is not conducive for positive relationships and businesses to flourish, the flourishing of people in general, as well as the happiness. Everything that they've told me has gone steadily downhill. Listen, it's far riskier to live there than it used to be. There's far greater crime. You guys know about the homeless encampments that are under every single overpass in the LA area. The traffic, even though people are moving, it's still really, really bad. Taxes increasing, the social fabric disintegrating. Every single person that I spoke with has considered moving. I'm sure that you guys know people that are very different with what they'll tell you personally than what they're willing to say publicly. And I'm going to circle back, to quote Jen Psaki, to that, but I'm really going to come back to this and why this is. Everybody else is describing racial relations getting worse and worse. And a couple specifically described that the media is promoting these racial divisions mainly because it gets them ratings, it gets them money. Also, it's the left-hand side of the aisle that wants to divide and conquer and wants everybody to label Trump rightists as racist so they can enact their utopian vision of the world, which simply is not going to work and is proving to do so in real time as they get more and more of what they desire. This chasm, these accusations, the onus of it all being white supremacy and the fault of the white man is steadily, steadily rising. And the only way you can avoid that, if you are on that side of the aisle, because it's not only whites, it's the blacks that stand with sanity and with a conservative thought, a right of center thought, as I said earlier, where you stand up for freedom of speech, where you stand up for people's right to think critically, even if it's different than you. They too are then labeled as white supremacists. Black people, white supremacists. This is what they're being labeled, as Candace Owens has, as many others have. The words that are thrown at them, the vitriol, it is really disgusting. But the one thing I will say, if there was one positive that people maintained universally that I spoke with, is that Los Angeles still has very nice weather. Yeah. That's not reason enough to stay for many of these people. And then somebody who is a semi-public figure, a comedian, who in the past has announced on social media that reflexively he is against anything that comes out of the Orange Man, anything that is on the right-hand side of the aisle. He just can't fathom how people believe in such things. When Kyle Rittenhouse, when there were some questions about the allegations against him, you know, the Kenosha guy who was attacked, shot at, and then shot back and killed 2 of his attackers and wounded a 3rd. And even the New York Times had a timeline where they reviewed video and stated essentially that it was self-defense, clear self-defense, and yet everybody wants this poor kid executed and thrown in jail. Yes, this is what I'm talking about. And this guy was so firmly believing that this man was a terrorist, despite ample evidence that would at least make you question that view. He came out on social media and announced that he was considering moving away from California and Los Angeles. And here's where I need improvement. I trolled the guy. What's wrong? Don't you want to pay your fair share in taxes? Huh? You don't like your money going to pay for equity and diversity officers in colleges? All that money that you earn to pay for, to divide us further? To pay for releasing prisoners from jail so that they can go out and commit more crimes and the elevated crime rate for not enforcing the law? Are these the things that you're against? I'm so confused. Why don't you stay in the great state of California that has enacted the policies that you've so desired and promulgated on social media using your impact as a public figure and as a comedian? And the answer came back that I can't discuss these things publicly. So I private messaged him. And once again, here is my error, and this is something that we should all take note of, is that there is daylight between his old paradigm and what he's observing in the real world. And here we are saying, here I am, let me put it in the first person, saying, haha, I was right, you stupid moron. This is not the right way to change people to your opinion. I'm totally off here. Yes, I did offer some, I'm trolling you, I'm acknowledging this. Here is some helpful advice about moving away from California, but it's still not the right strategy to change somebody's opinion and move them over to the side of sanity. Now, when I private messaged him, the answer was, I'm not going to write anything, but if you're correct with what you say and I believe it, then I'm going to give you a little emoji. And I just said everything. You as a comedian, you're not even able to speak your mind about race relations because you can't even criticize black people today, in today's modern day Los Angeles and the United States, because you'll be trolled, because you'll be canceled, emoji. Because you don't think that it's so great to release prisoners and the crime spike makes it unsafe for you to live there, emoji. Everything that I've just said, this person, this comedian, nodded his head to. You see, what people believe privately, what they've come to believe is very different than what they'll say publicly. Now, here's the circling back that I promised you. The reason that they state these things publicly, he's a comedian. He is not Bill Burr. They tried to cancel Bill Burr. There was a lot of pushback against the cancellation of Bill Burr because he made some missteps at the Grammy Awards that he was presenting at. This guy's not Bill Burr. There are a few people at the pinnacle, the Mount Rushmore of comedy, that cannot be canceled. And my buddy here is not necessarily one of these people, despite being relatively successful in the comedic world. He makes a living doing it. This is his job. And the reason, once again, that he's not willing to say this publicly is look what happened to Gina Carano. Gina Carano, the Mandalorian actress, who stated something that it might have not been a fantastic analogy, but her heart was certainly in the right place. And yeah, there are some people that are sensitive to the Holocaust. I had my grandparents who went through the Holocaust. Their entire families were wiped out. I was not offended in the least by what she said, but other people want to take up the offense for such people. They want to tell and dictate what is and what isn't allowed, and the truth is that they're only looking to be politically expedient in terms of wiping out what they perceive as enemies. Because, once again, her co-star, Pedro Pascal, was able to make a very similar analogy, but because he's on the left-hand side of the aisle and was criticizing Trump, that was completely allowable. Now, if you come out with a heterodox view, if you come out against the prescribed narrative and the woke orthodoxy, then my buddy is going to lose his jobs. So it makes sense. Despite being a comic, the comic that is supposed to be the jester, who's supposed to be able to tell the king that he's wearing no pants, does not speak out because he's afraid of Disney, who canceled Gina Carano, of canceling him or these woke people that are in charge of doling out these jobs. And the moment you get put on that list, it gets very hard to get work. Just look at what happened to Owen Benjamin, who's a famous comic who has been canceled totally by Hollywood. And today, I haven't heard much from him. So that's a little explanation as to what's going on. Remember, what people are willing to say privately, they're not going to say publicly because they fear getting canceled. And the truth is that if everybody rose up and told this small contingent of people that they have to shut the F up, that they're the ones in the wrong, and you did this a few times, they'd get the hint. And they'd keep their freaking woke-ass opinions to themselves. Unfortunately, they have institutional backing because these companies believe, wrongly or rightly, that the woke are in control of the cultural norms, and this is partly due to the fact that they have distribution on all the networks where Don Lemon calls Piers Morgan a racist, and on the wrong side of the Meghan Markle debate, when Piers just asserts that he doesn't believe her, Don Lemon calls him a racist. Everybody that's watching this imbecile Don Lemon believes that if they come out, they too will be called racist, because this is defense of the left-hand side of the aisle that once again wants power and wants to control what it is we say, what it is we do, to make way for a more equitable world. So yes, it's your obligation to stand up. It's your obligation to say Nein, no, in German, to these horrible Nazis, these fascists that are coming at you, because they are using the same strategies that the fascists do. Everything is white supremacy. Everything is horrible racial relations. And everything is the white man's fault. Everything that happened in Rwanda is the white man's fault. The Hutus killing the Tutsis, firmly on the right, white man. Everything that goes on in the Middle East for the centuries and centuries of killings and brutalization, white man fault. The Aztecs killing all their neighbors, sacrificing people before whites even got to the continent. That is white supremacy right there. Everything is the white man's fault. I just want to point this out so that you guys see what's going on. And many people, once again, everybody has told me that the conditions in Los Angeles and in California are horrific. It saddens me. It used to be a great city and a great state, but these are the mind pathogens, these cancerous ideas that are metastasizing and destroying the United States. And China is just going to walk on over if we continue this. So please, let's all stop and just remember, there are people that believe privately what they won't say publicly. So it's up to you to be the first person to start that conversation, as I am doing with you guys. Peace and blessings. Get out there and say no to woke. Fight back against the cancer. Be the chemotherapy against it. Peace out, everybody. If you're new, subscribe to the channel, thumb up this video, and share it. Have a fantastic day.